Hey everybody, St. Paul Peterson here. Welcome to episode 41 of Music on the Run. Guitarist, child prodigy, bad dude, Quinn Sullivan is next on Music on the Run.
Before we get started here, do me a favor. Wherever you got this podcast, make sure you subscribe, give us a rating, and if you have time and like what you're hearing, make sure you write a review. It really helps us get the word out so we can have a lot more people coming to the party.
Hey everybody, I'm St. Paul Peterson. Prince gave me that nickname, and I've been lucky enough to tour with people like the Steve Miller Band, Kenny Loggins, Peter Frampton, Donny Osmond, to name a few. And when I'm not playing music, I love to run. And this is a podcast about how we stay healthy on the road, physically, mentally, and with our families. Welcome to Music on the Run.
Hey everybody, St. Paul Peterson here, and welcome to episode 41 of Music on the Run. Hey, it is a 10 in Minnesota right now. This is why we wait, those 10 months of winter for the 2 months that we get of summer, and it is glorious outside. Been running, having a ball, having pool parties, barbecues, you name it. We're having a lot of fun. Had some really fun guests over, some great musicians over the past weekend, and it's just been an absolute blast. But let's get right into it. Oh, wait. No, let's not. For those of you who are watching this, I got a special shirt on from Newt Capet, which was a store that music store that we used to have here back in the, the 80s and 90s? And of course, they sent me one of these because I spent a few dollars there. So shout out to Dave and anybody who sent me this shirt. I appreciate you. And I appreciated that store so much. That was a really fun time. And I missed those days. Those were really fun. All right, so let's get into it. My next guest is an incredible musician, a solo artist who is considered a child prodigy. And you'll figure out why once you go check him out. He shared the stage with Carlos Santana and Buddy Guy, just to name a few. I met Quinn when we were recording his latest record out in California, produced by someone you're familiar with. It was one of my dear friends, Oliver Lieber, who's not only been interviewed on the show, has been on countless Funk Fridays. He's released 4 solo records so far, and he also has appeared on the Funk Friday series. Please welcome Quinn Sullivan. What's up, Quinn? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, man. It's always great to see your face, and thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's so great to know that your record is out now.
I know.
I mean, you sat on that. You didn't sit on that. COVID sat on that for months and months and months.
Oh my God. We waited. I feel like we waited so long for that, and it's finally out for everybody to hear. So I'm so excited to finally have the music out for everybody.
Tell me what the momentum is. How does that feel? I mean, it's got to feel pretty incredible.
It feels really, really good. We've been getting quite the response so far from different reviews around the country, and I'm really happy with the response the album's gotten so far. I was a little bit like, how are people going to react to this new music? Because, I have such a history in one genre, which is the blues, so right. It was like, I wanted to step out on this one and really attack some different genres and some different, and, show people some different sides of me as an artist, because I'm just a huge music fan in general. I love all different types of music. So I wanted this album to kind of showcase the other sides of me. So I was kind of going, okay, well, how are people going to react to this? And, they ended up, so far, it's been really good. So I'm really happy with it. Yeah.
We'll talk a lot more about the record a little bit later in the show. But, I mean, what does it feel like? I mean, they call you a child prodigy. You don't know you're a child prodigy when you're in the middle of it. Do you look back on yourself going, God, I really did play the guitar when I was whatever. Were you 3 when you started playing?
I was 3 years old. Yeah. I mean, for as long as I could remember, my family was always huge music fans. Growing up, I was surrounded by music. My parents would play me various records around the house, from the Beatles to the Rolling Stones to the Allman Brothers bands, the Grateful Dead, the Dire Straits, Santana, all this different music that I was hearing in my house. And they were just exposing me to this music, not really knowing that I would ever pick up a guitar or not, but just for the sole matter of just them being huge music lovers. And so I suppose that seeped into my playing as I, began to play guitar. They actually gave me for one Christmas, I think my third Christmas, they gave me a little this company called First Act, and not sure if they're still a company now, but they made these really good quality kid guitars. And so my parents, bought me this guitar, and then now I have a guitar in my hand. So now I'm playing to these albums instead of just listening. I was, actually playing, and not really playing chords or anything, but just strumming along around the house, just being a kid. And I think, when I was around 5 years old, I started to get more serious into it, and they started to, take me to lessons once a week. And I would, go to my guitar teacher and say, hey, I want to learn this song, or I want to learn that. And I remember the first song that I actually learned how to play was Blackbird by the Beatles. And
well, wait a minute. Or first song was Blackbird. I can barely play that now, let alone play it when you're 5 years old.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was funny because the first few lessons were just simple, like, here's how to play a G chord, here's how to play a D, all the simple chords. And then, when I started to get that, then I had gone, okay, let me see if I can do this. And so I brought it to my teacher. He taught it to me. I played it, every day for hours on end for probably 2 or 3 weeks, and then went back and was able to kind of play it. But yeah, man, it was just I didn't really think I didn't think in terms of I can't do this or this is too hard. I just thought of it as I really love this song and I want to learn how to play it.
It's unbelievable.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks,
kid
man.
That is. Your parents saw that talent in you right away. I think so. That, it sounds like.
I think they did. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they knew that I was going to do this for a job or as a career. But I mean, I think
cute. He'll grow out of it, honey.
Yeah, but I guess I always just loved it, and I always remember it being a big part of my life and something that I always really loved to do. And a lot of people over the years have said, "Oh, well, did your parents force it on you, or did they force you to practice and all that stuff?" And every time I just say no. I mean, they were just, if you want to do it, pick it up. If you don't, that's cool. And it was always sort of my choice to pick it up and do it. So for as long as I can remember, that's what I was doing as a kid.
So did your parents become stage parents at that point? He's wonderful. Get him on stage. Get out there. Hurry.
Well, kind of not that way, but kind of, sort of. I mean,
well, they were proud, right? They were
so proud. They were so proud because I used to play a lot of shows with like local musicians. I actually used to play because my dad is a drummer, so we used to do like local shows together and play around town, and we would go play these Beatles shows. They'd have these like Beatles tribute nights at these different clubs around my area, and they would be like John Lennon night, George Harrison night. And I would go and play Beatles songs because I was a huge Beatles fan. That was my bread and butter growing up, was just listening to that music. So I was just like playing these songs to older people in the crowd or whatever, and just doing my thing. And about a year after that, I was, this is like 6-7 years old now. My dad had actually hit up the Ellen show because they found out that she was interested in having kids come on and play for her. So we actually sent her a couple of videos, or producer. I kind of forget how we got her email, but or the producer's email. But yeah, I mean, we sent some stuff out to them, and lo and behold, we got a message back, and they flew me out, and I was on the show at 6 years old, and playing for her, and it was just, I mean, mind-boggling at that age to be able to do that. I don't think I really fully understood the magnitude of that until maybe 15, 16, looking back at it, going, wow, that was, obviously an unbelievable opportunity at that age. But she ended up giving me a guitar, the Gibson 335, and I still have that guitar. And, so a lot of these things were happening at a young age. So it was very, it was a crazy time to be a kid, because I was doing all this, stuff that everybody was kind of going, how is he doing this,
Most kids are worried about, playing ball or going to the playground or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And you're sitting here playing Beatles songs or those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Did you, I suppose that when you're that age, it really doesn't strike you as anything different. It's just something that you enjoyed at that point.
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't, and like I said, I didn't really consider it to be any sort of, abnormal thing because it was just something that I knew how to do and something that I was doing all the time. And, I did realize that other kids were doing different things than I was, but I didn't really, I guess I just didn't care. I was just like, this is what I love and this is what I'm happy doing. And I feel my happiest when I'm playing guitar and when I'm making music. So, I mean, I just happened to get into it at a very young age, so, it's just all seems supernatural to me.
Did you, speaking of supernatural, that's exactly what it is. You have a supernatural talent, man, because you're an old soul in a young man's body from the time you were born up till I met you. And of course, that is the utmost compliment.
Thank you, man.
Do you take it that way?
I appreciate that. I mean, I think I attribute that to my two parents for just showing me really great music, because I could have easily fallen into the trap of just listening to what kids were listening to at that point. This
Barney. Soloing over Barney and SpongeBob and
yeah. Which I was watching, by the way. I was definitely watching all that stuff as a kid, and very, majority of my whole childhood was very normal. I went to normal school as a kid. I did the whole public school thing, and I, never once did my parents ever want me to live this fantasy life that only exists, somewhere far away. I mean, it was just very, very normal. The only thing that wasn't normal was that I was able to play guitar at an early age, and I was, on national TV, obviously, and right. That stuff was happening. And this is also when YouTube was starting to become sort of a thing too. So that video actually racked up quite a bit of views, and it got a few million hits on it. And I remember, people just becoming interested just for that purpose of, wow, he's got this many views online, and he's this young kid playing guitar. And so, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it was like I said, it was just a crazy time. Yeah.
It's just natural ability, and you were just doing what you thought you wanted to be doing. And it is natural. That's it. You were playing because you wanted to play. So
yeah.
I need you to walk me through your parents taking you to see Buddy Guy for the first time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it was actually, we found out that Buddy was coming to a theater about 15 minutes from my house called the Zyterian Theater. And, I had first seen Buddy Guy on a video or a DVD called Eric Clapton's Crossroads Guitar Festival, which is, if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's a festival that Eric Clapton puts on every 4 to 5 years, and he has all these guitar players come and play. And I think this one was the one they did in Dallas in 2004. And I just remember watching that and seeing Buddy on stage and, seeing him walk out and just being totally like blown away by not only his guitar playing, but just his stage mannerisms. And I felt like he just had total control of the entire stage. Like every guitar player was looking at him. And I was just, I don't know, as a kid, I was just kind of blown away at that and never really seen anybody do that. So as soon as we found out he was playing, 15 minutes from my house, I was like, Dad, we have to go. We have to go see this guy play. And so we got to go and we bought tickets, and we were hanging out at the show, and we knew some people at the theater that worked there, so they were able to get us backstage, which was really cool. And we went backstage, and there he was. He was sitting. I'll always remember this. He had like an American flag long sleeve shirt on, and he had the hat and just the gold jewelry, the watch, the whole thing. And I just remember seeing this man and just being like totally 8-year-old kid shy, probably said 2 words to him at that time, and didn't really know what to say. But he asked me, I brought my little Squier Fender Strat with me for him to sign, and he signed it for me. And, I played him a few licks on the guitar, and because he wanted to see if I could play. He's like, who's this 8-year-old kid coming to my dressing room?
Check him out.
Right. And so I did, and apparently he was impressed with that. And, later that night, he called me on stage, and he literally, right from the crowd, I went on stage. I was sitting in maybe the 10th row, and he called me up, and I played the last half an hour of the show with him, and it was so full circle for me because it was my hometown, and a lot of people had known me probably at that show, and it was just a highlight. And like at 8 years old, you never know what events will change your life forever, but that night totally changed my entire life. I mean, musical life, for sure. I mean, forever. I mean, from that, for the next 10 years of my life, I was literally, going from just playing locally to playing all over the world and being able to tour with Buddy, and he's brought me all over the world and all of this stuff. And, so I owe so much to Buddy Guy for all of his support and the mentorship that he has given me, the last 10 years,
So you moved from playing Beatles songs into playing the blues with Buddy Guy. That's a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
And I heard you play the blues, and it is authentic. It's, again, natural for you. Was that somewhat of a conscious switch for you to go into that kind of thing? Or was that just something he introduced you to and showed you the ways, he mentored you through that? Explain to me how you made that switch into playing more of the blues for at least, that period of your life.
Well, I mean, I think I just naturally just did it because I was now being exposed to all of this blues music through Buddy Guy. He would turn me on to different records and different artists, that I had never heard of before. I mean, I didn't know who Muddy Waters was. I didn't know who like Howlin' Wolf was and Sonny Boy Williamson or John Lee Hooker, any of those guys, until I met Buddy. I mean, he would tell me stories. I mean, I like to say, like, whenever you're around Buddy or whenever I've had the privilege of being around him, it's always to me like going into like a college history class, because it's like every single time you're in his presence, he always has a different story to tell. And I got to say, I've been around Buddy, so many times, and he's never repeated himself as far as the stories. I mean, he always has a different, cool, interesting story every day. And it's almost like, it almost fits into like any part of my life. Like he had the stories when I was 12 that he would say, and then as I got older, the stories would get more graphic. You know what I mean? Yeah. So by like 17, 18, he was telling me the real stories.
Yeah. He didn't sugarcoat it anymore.
Absolutely, man. And so I thank Buddy for introducing me to blues, and I think that was the reason why that music just grabbed me. I think because I wasn't listening to it really as a kid, right, or getting into it. Like I said, it was the Beatles. But then, as I've realized as a 22-year-old now, I mean, the Beatles were influenced directly from blues as well. So it's like it's all to me. The cool thing about blues is it all goes back to that. All great music stems from the blues. So yeah, it was just one of those things. It was a natural progression, and I just, I started listening to it a lot more and getting more into it. And yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious about going on the road at that age. How does one do that? I mean, how old were you when you went on the road with Buddy?
First tour was, I think I was 9 years old, actually.
So wait a minute. So do you have to take the whole entourage, the whole family? How does that work exactly?
Well, my dad would travel with me. He actually still travels with me to this day. He works with me a lot now. So, but yeah, it was just me and him. My mom would stay home, and she had a day job, so she'd work and stuff, and she'd come out to local shows, but she wouldn't travel with us. It would just be my dad and myself, and we went out. It was so cool because Buddy and his whole crew, they just opened me to their world. You know what I mean? There was no like, you got to do this and this to get into this club that we're in. It was right, like very open arms, and I feel super grateful for that because I know a lot of times that's not necessarily the case, especially for young people to get into this business. Sometimes, there's a lot of odd people in this industry that try to really in and do all that stuff. And I learned that later on in life. But, when I was 9, 10, I mean, like, I definitely was being exposed, obviously, to larger audiences because Buddy was playing for 1,500 to 2,000 people a night at that time. So it was a whirlwind experience, but I guess as a kid, I wasn't necessarily thinking too hard about it. I was just doing it. And I think right, it was just like, oh, we got these shows, cool, let's go do them. And we're invited to this, cool, let's go do it. And obviously I knew it was cool, but I didn't necessarily realize it fully until I was much older. So,
did you have to bring your schoolwork on the road with you? Because you said that you remained in your regular schools back in Mass. Is that right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I did, like when it didn't really come into effect really until probably middle school, high school, especially high school. Middle school was easy to get around and do some book report assignments and, call it a day. But I think once I got to high school, things obviously get harder and more challenging. So yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough that a lot of the people a lot of the teachers that I had were also ended up becoming fans. So it was easy to
Right.
not get, I wouldn't say I got by without doing stuff. They would definitely hold me accountable, but definitely more like, okay, do this, this, and this. If you get this done, you'll be okay. So I would, but I was always a good student. I always got A's and B's, occasional C's. Like I was pretty good student. So I guess I didn't have much difficulty with that, with that part of it, as some kids may be doing. So yeah, it was definitely one of those things for me that it seemed easy, but I'm sure, as I think about it now, I'm sure there were challenging parts of it, but I got through high school and I graduated with my class, so I'm proud of that. Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Do you feel like you missed out on any part of just being a kid? Or was it just completely exactly what you should have been doing and you didn't miss a thing?
I think it's the second thing you said. Yeah, I think it's exactly what I should have been doing because, when I came home from all of these trips and all of these touring experiences, I was just a kid. I was just a normal 8-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old. Like I was just a normal kid coming back and going to school. And I was very lucky to also have very close friends that didn't think of me any differently from what I was doing. They kept me grounded. They just considered me to be a normal kid like everybody else. You run into those people that they think you're this big shot or whatever. But I never really thought of myself as that. And I always sort of kept not to keep my head down in high school, but I definitely was someone that didn't love the attention drawn to me, unless it was on a stage somewhere. I don't want anybody to crowd around me and ask me stuff when I'm just trying to be a normal kid. I kept a low profile in high school, but like I said, there's definitely those couple kids that, oh my God, you're the kid that was on Ellen, or you're the kid that does that. But yeah, I definitely think it was, it didn't feel like I missed out on anything necessarily because I lived a normal life, when I got home. So it was easy for me to manage. And I thank my parents for that too, because they never let me get ahead of myself or let me become a dick or anything like that, because they didn't want me to be like that.
Having a strong family, I think, is what it's all about. I mean, I worked with another childhood star, Donny Osmond, and he is, there's a lot of people who don't turn out well after going through being a child star.
Yeah.
So many have, and probably a greater percentage have ended up in trouble.
Right.
So I think what separates, those kids from you and someone like Donny is the family, the strength of your family, strength of your other influences and people you're surrounding yourself with. So
yeah.
Good on you that you were able to keep that together. I mean, because it's easy to go, I'm a guitar player and I'm singing and I'm playing in front of 2,000 people and I'm pretty hot shit right now.
Right, right. Yeah. But, I think also I've always been like this, and I've always thought I've been a very forward thinker always, and I've never been like, I guess like, satisfied with anything. I've always want to reach more and do more. So I've been like that since I was, 14, 15. So I think that's just the mindset that I have. And I just always want to be doing more and getting, whatever. So I think doing anything, I wasn't like, oh, I'm the shit, like, cause I'm doing this, like I'm always just like, all right, well, there's another step. There's always another thing to learn, another person to hear, another person to listen to. So I just try to keep my ears open,
Right. You've played so many of the venues that all musicians want to play.
Yeah.
Madison Square, Montro Jazz Festival. It's just, it's unbelievable. Was that also when you were a teenager?
It was, yeah.
We're going to take a little break from the interview right now because I want to tell you about a couple of really cool things. First of all, we're having so much fun with our weekly 1-minute funk jams called Funk Friday. We've had so many world-class musicians on Funk Friday, including members of the Steve Miller Band, Fleetwood Mac, Daryl Hall and John Oates, Earth, Wind & Fire, just to name a few. You can check that out on all of our social media, but you can also see it on our YouTube channel. I I also want to take this opportunity to thank all of our members who have supported us on Patreon. Don't know what Patreon is? Go to www.patreon.com/Music on the Run podcast, and there you'll get all sorts of information on how you can financially help us produce this podcast. There are all kinds of incentives listed there on the website, and there are many different levels on how you can become involved. We could not put on this podcast without our patrons. All right, let's get back to the interview.
So many of the venues that all musicians want to play.
Yeah.
Madison Square, Montro Jazz Festival. It's just, it's unbelievable. Was that also when you were a teenager?
It was, yeah. I mean, the first time I played the Montro Festival, I was 12, and this was a crazy, crazy lineup, man. It was Van Morrison, and then I played. Don't ask me why I was playing after Van Morrison, but they fit me into that somehow, and I was playing a half an hour set with Buddy's band backing me, which was awesome. And then Buddy came on headline, and I sat in with Buddy. So that was my first experience with Montro, playing that festival. And obviously, it's one of my favorite festivals in the whole world to be able to play. It's just a beautiful area, and the people are so nice. And yeah, the Hollywood Bowl. I think the first time was the Playboy Jazz Festival with like Buddy Guy and the Roots, and all these different people were playing. And so yeah, I've gotten to play a lot of interesting venues over the years. Yeah.
You explained that Buddy Guy had such a great impact on you. Not only his band, brought you into the family, but his producers and his managers as well. Didn't you end up working with Buddy's producer for a couple of records of your early records?
Yes, I did. Yeah, Tom Hambridge is his name, and he, Tom was an incredible musical partner that I ran into through Buddy, and we still remain friends to this day. I mean, he's a really strong, great person, and great drummer, and also great songwriter, producer. So he helped me craft the first couple of records, and it really showed me. I was somewhat of a band leader as well too on the road, because he would play drums with me a lot of the time when I would be on the road playing with Buddy or doing my own shows. He would be playing drums with me, so it was very. I learned so much from him being on stage with him. He showed me a lot of different approaches to, just being a band leader and just a really good role model in that sense. So I learned a lot from Tom. Yeah.
He must have shown you what it's like what the difference is between being on stage and playing in the studio as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because it's two different things,
Explain that to my listeners who may not be, they may be more into running and fitness than they are into,
yeah,
being a musician.
Well, I mean, the studio life is completely different from the live life. I mean, obviously when you're playing live, you have one shot really to do it well. And sometimes you don't do it well. You know what I mean? We all have off nights, but I mean, the studio is beautiful in the sense that you get to do things over and over again. But at the same time, there's something to be said for that one shot, one kind of deal thing where it's like you're just playing live and you're just giving it your all, and obviously you have people watching you, so it's different. It's a different, you have different things in your head when you're playing live than you would when you're recording in the studio. I mean, that's just coming from my personal experience, but yeah, I guess I like both for different reasons. I really had a lot of fun with this newest album that just came out because obviously being around guys like Oliver and you and we had Abe Laboriel Jr. playing on a couple of songs. I mean, being around these kinds of guys, I mean, it's just, to me, it's like I'm just like a student learning from all these people, because
you
it's
were
just
a sponge. I'll give you that. That was fun to watch. You were like, this is
cool. Yeah, it was so cool, and I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the process a lot, and it was the first time that I really co-wrote every song on the album, which was really fun to do, and obviously a big milestone for me as a songwriter. So,
well, now you got something to talk about. You're 22 now?
22. Yeah.
Ooh, you're getting old, man.
I know. I'm pushing up, man. I'm pushing up.
You're catching up to all of us.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It is true though. You got to have some life experience before you really know what you want to talk about. And do you feel that you're able to guide the direction of your artistry now that you're the age you are. You have your own direction rather than someone going, I'm going to write this for you because I think this is where you should be. I'm assuming that's kind of what happened to the previous records.
Yeah.
But now you're taking some control of the direction. That's got to feel kind of good to you.
It's got to, yeah. I mean, it feels very, very liberating. I mean, I had a couple of songs that I helped write, but nothing as much as I did with this newest one because, like you said, I mean, you need to experience life to even figure out what artist you want to be, because at 14, I had no idea what I wanted to be and what I wanted to say. I mean, I was just, lucky enough for all the opportunities that I was getting along the way through Buddy Guy and people like that. But, as far as what does Quinn Sullivan want to be doing, I really didn't know. So I had to figure, that was between like 18 and now, just figuring out what I wanted to say, what I wanted to be, what do I want to sound like. And, I think through making this new album, I was able to navigate that a lot more and figure that out and really think about and reflect on what I wanted to say. And, because I love the blues, but I knew that I didn't want to stop there. Right. I knew that I wanted to do other things and reach other goals that I had in mind, for musically. So I think through this album, and through the help, of course, of Oliver, I mean, he really helped me do that, and find myself a little bit more.
Were you nervous when that you would be accused of abandoning your core audience? Did that even cross your mind, or were you like, nah, they're coming? I'm not worried about
that. No, I definitely did. There was a lot of points of me going, well, is this the right thing I should be doing? I don't want to be, alienating people that have been around for 10, 15 years. But I think as an artist, I think the thing that I've learned the most is you have to grow and you have to do, I mean, if you're not happy doing something that you're doing, then no one else will be happy. I think you have to be the one that's really happy and satisfied with the music that you're making. And I just felt this is naturally just, this is where I want to go. And this is really what I want to take this music, And so I think I did think about it a little bit, but, I think the people that really love you will stick by you, and the people that, love you because you're only doing this. I mean, that's, if they leave, that's cool.
Yeah, the thing that most people don't realize is that it's called the music business. And you, being a young man, I'm sure were put into situations that you were like, what is going on here? How did you navigate the business aspect of the music business?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, management can really make things weird sometimes, and other people that are the surrounding people around what you're doing. And I think I definitely ran into some of that at 18, 19, and just being, around people that weren't necessarily my best interest, and, I had to learn what feels right and what doesn't feel right. And I think music in itself is about feeling and expression. We all know that, but the music business is a completely different monster. Yes. And it'd be really difficult to get around and navigate yourself through. And also simultaneously, I'm also now, this is 18 years old, just turned 18. I'm now not a prodigy. I'm not a kid. I'm an adult. Right. And now you're faced with all of these different people, and, you're no longer that kid anymore. So people aren't affiliating you with that side of things. You know what I mean? They're now, you're now an adult. You're now amongst all of the other people that are trying to make it in this music world, So that was a thing that I didn't necessarily think about until I was that age. And I went, oh, wow, I gotta figure myself out. How am I going to be different from the other 1,000 guitar players out there, that are trying to do the same thing that I'm trying to do. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of that and a lot of growing, and a lot of learning, and I'm still learning about it. I don't think anybody really masters it. It's like you're always learning something new about it every day, I feel like.
You surrounded yourself on this new record with a great mentor / producer / co-writer. We've been talking about this whole time by the name of Oliver Lieber, who's a dear friend of mine for 40 years. He actually did the same for me when I was 21, 22. We were both kids though at that time, writing together, figuring out the business, going through the same changes and weird things that you had to deal with now that you're the age you are. But with all that knowledge behind him, you chose wisely, in my estimation, because I think that he was the perfect person for you to pair with, because he can draw things out of you. That's what a producer does, by the way, those of you who are listening. A producer's job is not only to make a great quality record, but it's how you make that record. How do you make the artist and set them up for the road they should be on? We talk a little bit about who are you as an artist? Who am I as an artist? That's one of the toughest things, I think, for any musician or artist to figure out is, who am I? I have these influences. I have Buddy Guy. I have Muddy Waters. I have Eric Clapton. I have these different people. But who is Quinn Sullivan? Who is St. Paul Peterson? Oliver, I think, at the age you were at when you met him, did one hell of a job of pointing him in a new but not totally new direction.
Yeah.
Tell me about your relationship with Oliver.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Oliver, he's so talented and so really just so great at doing that. And I first met Oliver in 2018, and my record company actually set me up for a writing session with him. And I flew out to California to his house, and we met for the first time. And I think immediately we just started talking about music and started talking about our influences, and sort of getting to know each other in that way. And I played him some stuff that I had been writing for a little while, and some voice memos on my phone, and he played me some stuff as well. And we ended up writing a song that day called "She's Gone" that ended up being on the album, obviously. And that was the first song that we wrote. And I think I just immediately knew from the first day working with him, I was just like, this guy knows what he's doing. This guy is cool, and he comes from a really good musical background, and he comes from a very soulful place that I was trying to get to, and I didn't really think I had gotten there yet on the last couple of records that I was doing. So I knew from working with him, based on his influence and based on the way he works, I knew that I was going to get somewhere deeper on this album, So I thank him so much for that. And, and yeah, I mean, we would do that. I would fly out every few months. I would be on the road touring and stuff, and then I would come back to LA to write more. And, through those writing sessions, we had developed 12 songs, 13, 14 songs, and, knew that we had an album, and so I asked him if he wanted to produce the album, and of course he said yeah, and we took it from there, and we have this beautiful new album out now, and it's definitely changed my life. So
I can't wait to see you play these songs live on the road, and we'll get to that too. But speaking of the road, so last year you didn't get to do that. You've been on the road since you were 9 years old. How did you handle not being able to be on the road last year? What did you do? Give me an example of what you did last.
The first few months were awesome. The first few months I was like, all right, I'm going to sit back and relax. I worked on this record for about a year. I'm just going to hang out, enjoy the glories. And then after 3 months, I was like, man, I need to do something that music related. Cause it's just like I need to do that. I need to fulfill whatever I'm doing, because like you said, I was so used to this schedule of touring every year, and summers were always stacked of shows, and I was always doing that. So I think having that time off, I was definitely a bit scared. I was like, when is this going to come back? And what am I going to do with myself? And so I found other things to do. I hung out with friends that I haven't seen in a while, and I rekindled some old friendships that I haven't talked to in years and stuff. So I used the time to kind of just be around family and be around friends, when we could. Once I got vaccinated, it became a lot easier to do those things. But it was just I got to admit, it was just a weird year. It was a weird year of pretty much not knowing what was going to be next. And I've always known what was going to be next. I've always known, okay, next month I'm going to be here and doing this. And now it's like, well, now I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 2 months. So yeah, it was definitely frightening, but I got used to it, and I got, accustomed to the home life and just being home. And I guess the silver lining in the whole thing is it sort of taught me, some things about myself that I didn't know. And, I had a lot more time to think about things. And it was really nice for this album because I was able to sit with these songs for a lot longer than I would have expected to. And Oliver and I discussed, he always has this joke like, I could work on this album for 10 years if I had the opportunity to.
Yes, he can.
Because as you know, and I know, he's a total perfectionist, and that's one of the coolest things about him. And so yeah, we had a lot of more time to do that and overdub stuff, and so that was nice. So it wasn't all the way bad, but it definitely obviously could have been better. But I'm looking forward now. Yeah,
it was a weird year for musicians in general. Everybody had to pivot and go, how do I make a living?
Yeah.
We're older than you. I am fine. I worry about your generation. And I did, because my daughter's even a little bit older than you. I was like, how are you going to do that? As parents, we were concerned for you guys.
Sure.
So it looks like you made it through all right, my friend.
I did. Luckily, I still live at home with my two parents, so I was lucky enough. I was lucky enough to not be worrying about my rent for the month.
Thank God, and that's so cool that you're still willing to do that. And I'm sure your parents are like, "Come on, let's hang out," because you ended up going on the road with your dad anyway.
Absolutely, man. And I'm blessed to have two very cool parents that are very, very low key, and they definitely raised me correctly, but also didn't deprive me from anything as a kid. So I was very lucky to have their support. Obviously.
You know what I think it is? I think it's the calm before the Quinn Sullivan storm. That's what I think it is. You've got.
I like that. Yeah.
Do you have dates on the book coming up?
We have a few actually. We have Telluride Blues and Brews Festival on September 18th, which is in Colorado. And that's a great festival. It's actually my first time playing at that festival. So that should be really fun. I'm looking forward to that. We have another festival that I'm playing in August 21st at a festival called Hike to the Mic in Connecticut. And we have a lot of other things happening and being confirmed right now. Just nothing's been announced yet. But we do have some stuff on the books, some stuff that we're getting ready to announce soon. So, yeah.
Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about what you do when you're on the road. And we talked about when you were a kid, you had to do your schoolwork, hanging with your dad. But this show is called Music on the Run. And we like to talk about what you do when you're on the road to stay healthy. Do you have a certain regiment that you have when you're on the road? I try
to go for, I at least try to get 30 to 45 minutes of some sort of exercise every day. I think that's super important for not only your body, but your head, to make sure you're mentally staying good.
Right.
And I try to do that. I like to just if we're at a hotel, there's a gym. I like to go to the gym and just do some weight training and some lightweight training. I'm not Arnold Schwarzenegger, but by no means am I that. But I like to do some treadmill stuff and, definitely try my best to eat well. Although as we all know, as touring musicians, that can be super hard sometimes when you're in, I don't know, somewhere in Texas and you want to go get barbecue and it's
well, sometimes you have to, when in Rome, as they say.
Yeah. So, but I'm not much of a drinker. I don't drink too much. I will occasionally drink when I'm at home with friends, but when I'm on the road, I pretty much, I like to stay totally sober, and my heart and soul is into the show. So,
right.
Yeah.
You said that helps you not only physically, but it helps you mentally. I know that when you're on the road, especially if you are the star, you not only have bus trips. If those of you listening, if you don't know it, most of us travel on a bus. We get on a bus after the show, sleep in these little coffin things called bunks, right? It's like you're at camp.
Yeah.
Then you get up the next day and the leader usually does interviews, and then you have sound check, and then you have the show, and then you rinse and repeat. What does working out or getting down to the gym do for you mentally?
I think it just keeps me grounded, and it keeps me from going insane. You know what I mean? Because it's you can definitely run into just different situations and of course, when you're playing live, there's so many things that can go wrong in a show. There's a lot of things that happen during a course of a night, whether if it's like, I don't have like a sound engineer yet, I'm sure I will as I continue doing this, but you sometimes have to rely on the house sound engineer, and sometimes that can be a little rough, obviously, but I mean, we've done so many gigs now where it's like, I kind of know what the situation's going to be pretty much 10 to 15 minutes into load in, what that's going to be. So I think, just getting that little bit of exercise and, even some sort of just meditation before a show for me just helps me to be grounded and feel right, because it's like you can't really get too far gone in that world. You know what I mean? You really have to have balance in some ways. So I try to do that to just keep myself balanced and keep myself, from, just kind of trying to be level-headed through the whole thing,
Smart. Let's talk a little bit more about the new record, because again, I want to mention, if you didn't hear the show earlier, this is how I know Quinn, because Oliver called me and said, "You want to help me with a record?" And I'm like, "Of course." He said, "Okay, here." And he would give me files, and I'd either be out at his place in LA or I'd be here at my studio here in Minneapolis. We would trade tracks back and forth. Ended up meeting Quinn. I'm a fan, which is so fun, man. It's like, I was just amazed at how great you are for the age you are. I mean, I know that sounds condescending. It's not meant to be at all. It just feels like you're one of us with a lot of salt and pepper. You just happen to be 22. That's all. So please take that as a compliment.
Thank you so much, man.
We had so much fun working on that record. And tell me, now you released 2 singles or 3 singles now?
Yes. I mean, yeah, the 3 singles are All Around the World, How Many Tears, and In a World Without You. And we released All Around the World first because, like we were just talking about how 2020 was such a weird year. So many things happened. We all know what those were, and I think for me, that song to me resonates right now, and the meaning of the song, the message of the song. Oliver and I, when we wrote the song, we were thinking a lot about social events happening, and we wrote this in 2019. So this was like before everything happened, with COVID. So it just, to me, like as the year kind of went on, I was like, this is just, to me, resonating more than anything right now. So, I talked to my label and my team and I said, hey guys, we really should put this out first, because I think this song will really do some wonders in the world. I think it really will, especially, with what was going on. I think it would just sending a positive note out to people, I think, in a time of such negativity, I think needed to be done. So we ended up doing that first, putting that out first. And the response to the song has been really good. And, people have, what I love about music is like certain songs are, from my opinion, from my standpoint anyways, like certain songs can really have a really great impact on people, and can bring you back to a certain time in your life, and can, you kind of can put your own meaning on what a song means, you can kind of fit it to your life. So I feel like that song sort of did that with people. And, it was just, it felt like the most natural song to put out first. Yeah.
What's the latest single?
Latest single is In a World Without You. Okay. And yeah, which you played on, which is amazing. And yeah, I mean, that's another one that Oliver and I came up with. It was actually, I think we had written another song that day, and we were just like, kind of just was 8-9 o'clock in the night. We just started playing. I just started playing these chords and this groove, and I had this, this Santana thing in my head, just this inspired thing from that. I was kind of thinking to myself, like, what would Santana play over this, or what would he say over this, And I started playing these chords, and Oliver said, hey, why don't you just start singing some melodies over this thing that you're playing? So I did that, and about a day later, I think the next day we had written the lyrics for the song, and it came together very quickly, and it ended up being one of my favorite songs on the album. So that's the newest single for the new album. Yeah.
Wide Awake, Quinn Sullivan. Go check it out wherever you get your music. Go buy it. Do us all a favor and try to find a place to buy it, right?
Right.
Spotify, Apple Music, where there are some other places that they can go to.
Yeah, I mean, all the streaming platforms, Amazon Music, and I think the CD, actually, there was a delay because of COVID on the CD. So you can actually now, this past Friday, you can actually now get the CD at a CD store. They still have those today. So
did you print any vinyl by any chance?
we have the vinyl is available on my website. And
Great,
yes, I got to send you a copy of that. Yeah,
Dude, I'll buy it. I'm supporting you.
Oh man, no.
Absolutely.
Thank you though. I appreciate that. But yes, vinyl is here, and you know it's available everywhere. So yeah, go get it, guys.
Is it QuinnSullivan.com? What's your website?
It's QuinnSullivanMusic.com.
QuinnSullivanMusic.com. Man,
Yes, sir.
what a pleasure to hang out with you today and learn just a little bit more about you and show you off. And to my listeners, it's always good to reconnect with you, little bro.
Yes,
And we'll
you
play
too,
some
my
more
man.
music together.
Yes, for sure, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Quinn Sullivan, everybody. This is it. Episode 41. We're done. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks for joining us.
Music on the Run was hosted by yours truly, St. Paul Peterson. Edited and produced by my buddy Davide Raso. Artist relations by Owen Sartori. Video editing by Tanner Montague. And a very special thanks to the people who financially support this podcast. And remember, stay grounded, everybody.